Hello, everyone, and welcome to this audio podcast. This audio podcast, as part of a Nephrin molecular series or edition. This audio podcast, as part of a tornado PlexAR. This audio podcast, as part of a Monster Bostics, and this audio podcast, as part of a Storm Robotics production. In this audio podcast, a little bit around the kidney disease and renal support group, or KDARs group for kids or young people with varying forms of CKD or chronic kidney disease. So so to begin with, the way young people and the way young people for example, parents and guardians and siblings and others sort of gather information to enhance sort of aspects around care or healthcare has has an has 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 an importance. Um, research at the same time research in around the theme in around what had been sort of part of this published works from 2014 had informed that conjectured or at least informed that pediatric specialists or nephrologists will be required to contribute more in communicating with educational sort of staff with educational staff with regard to young people's healthcare requirements. So in sort of in following, sorry, the Kidney Disease and Renal Support Group, or KDARs group for kids, is has been another social media platform has been another social media platform wherein 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 the platform, the social media platform, had been highlighting CKD awareness, more specifically around young people with CKD or varying forms of CKD, chronic kidney disease, who can face a lifetime of illness. Following on from the experience of that two parents had gone through with regard to had gone through with regard to one of their own one of their own children had who had been diagnosed early with a form of acute kidney injury, AKI, for several months. And so for several months, they discussed the notion of initiating a support group platform, or a platform to provide sort of peer support and better the communication pathways who are in CKD in forms of varying forms of CKD, or in forms of varying aspects aligned to chronic kidney disease. The parents or the founders of KDARs, of the Kidney Disease and Renal Support Group, or KDARs group platform, composed several bulletins initially, and stories approaching sort of a local newspaper, newspaper, and one newspaper in particular made an effort to highlight the story. The founders have struggled to get any response any response sort of previous, and had very little success. And it was then when the parent when the founders had contemplating setting up a social media platform, for families who were suffering in the same. And so the founders endeavored to sort of scan, if you like, other social media platforms, specific to young people or pediatric patients or young people, and also sort of identifying that there were no sort of platforms or social media platforms specific to that population. It was around sort of early April, around April. It was around April 2002, around April 2014. KDARs, the Kidney Disease and Renal Support Group, or KDARs group for kids, or KDARs um, sort of platform or social media platform, was formally founded. The KDARs group for kids, again, is has been for all of those affected, all those young people affected with CKD, or varying forms of CKD, and the parents, the founders or the parents of a child who had suffered with a form of CKD, have found that it had been a sort of a lonely and isolating, living with CKD, and where the founders had informed that CKD is much like a life sentence, and through the founding of KDARs, the founders had hoped to encourage families in similar circumstances to share experiences and stories, to offer support in challenging times, and to highlight that parents and guardians, for example, are not alone. The KDARs sort of platform aims to fill a sort of a gap in the market, if you like, to offer support, for young people, where the age range where KDARs and the founders are involved, um, uh, where the KDARs and the young and where KDARs and the founders are involved, look to support those between ages of neonate up to 17 years, and this is where the support is often neglected or required most. So KDARs had recently reached so when this works was published in 2014, the KDARs platform at that time had just over 400 service users globally, and the belief is now that the KDARs group has expanded sort of beyond sort of the initial service users that had been the service users sort of number documented in this early works from 2014. However, at the same time, where the service users, where KDAR supports has been supporting service users globally, with members thus far sharing experiences amongst those between in places such as Europe, East Asia, and the United States, and providing support through and in this manner has allowed the KDAR founders to provide support through social media platforms, where previously had apparently been non-existent. So KDARs has been reaching out continually reaching out to parents and guardians who require support, and one of the questions in this published work, peer reviews and published works from 2014, is what are some of the KDARs group's plans. So whilst utilizing social media has some advantages, the founders have wanted to be more on the front line in order to offer a more face-to-face service to highlight more crucial topics relating to young people suffering with CKD, and parents and guardians who also have their own set of challenges. This includes topics relating to CKD awareness, discrimination, and ignorance. The KDARs founders had been offered varying sort of additional services, if you like, for families and the service had been sort of and particular service had been offered by an academic institution where an academic institution by by where by or nearby where the founders have been based. And KDAR's founders also endeavored to identify as sort of a had sought to identify a suitable sort of a physical basis to operate. And since the publication of this works, the understanding is that KDARs has a sort of a hub based in a hub based where a hub based and where young people suffering with varying forms of CKD can sort of come together sort of physically to sort of further share and understand experiences. KDAR's founders who also felt that the work of working from a physical locality would be advantageous because they would be able to retrieve a sort of literature and sit and communicate face to face and take time out for themselves and talking with others in similar circumstances. So the issues that arise from living with CKD are generally vast, and the KDARs founders have wanted to ensure that awareness for CKD in the young comes to the forefront, and wanted to be able to raise and inform the public's perception of the disease. Many people believe, for example, that having a transplant is a cure, and wherein has been evidence that in fact this is a fallacy. A transplant is a treatment option, and this is another message. KDARs founders are getting across, or have been getting across, and this needs to be. And thus, there needs to be sort of a more awareness and understanding of long-standing conditions like CKD, or linked to those that are linked to sort of CKD, wherein there should be a sort of an effort to preclude a sort of the it should be an effort to preclude sort of the issues around the issues in around where discrimination and ignorance has been an aspect which also have a deeper impact, which also have a sort of a deeper impact, and so. So that draws this audio podcast to a close. This audio podcast as part of a Nephrin molecular series or edition. This audio podcast as part of a Nephrin molecular series or edition, and part of a tornado PlexAR. This audio podcast as part of a Monster Bostics, and this audio podcast as part of a Storm Lobostics production.